Give me a stock clerk with a goal, and I will give you a man who will make history. Give me a man without a goal, and I will give you a stock clerk. J.C. Penney. And that, my friends, is what we're going to talk about today. Goals on this episode of the All Around Growth Podcast. Today is Friday, July 9th, 2021. And this is episode number 148 of the All Around Growth Podcast. A show that gives you insight and tools to build the lives and homestead of our dreams. Not just you, but me. Doing this show helps me process everything that's going on in life in order to build the life and homestead of my dreams. I'm sharing this journey with you, and you are doing the same, and together in the All Around Growth Telegram group at t.me/allaroundgrowth, we are sharing our experiences together. One of the things we talk about there is goals. We're going to talk about goals this morning. And I'm going to go ahead and read the first little bit of 48 Rudder of the Day by Dan Miller, which I've been doing a lot of recently. In Proverbs chapter 7, verse 7, we read, I saw among the simple, I noticed among the young men, a youth who lacked judgment. Another translation says, void of understanding. I have read this hundreds of times and have always assumed that simple actually meant a guy who just wasn't too bright, maybe a little slow, one wheel in the sand. However, my new study Bible has a note, quote, the person who has no purpose in life is simple-minded. Without aim or direction, an empty life is unstable, vulnerable to many temptations, close quote. And that comes from the Life Application Study Bible. And Dan writes, wow, all of a sudden I see that very differently. Quote, no purpose, no direction, close quote. This is not a function of IQ or education. This can be true of a Rhodes Scholar or the valedictorian of your graduating class. And what happens to a person with no purpose? He, she is vulnerable to whatever circumstances come along. Get a job offer working in the salt mine? Sure, why not? It's a job. Chance to go back to law school? Of course. Cousin Vinny was a mobster. Why don't you be one too? Okay. Zig Ziglar talks about being a wandering generality. Athletes don't win races. CEOs don't gain positions. Ladies aren't great mothers, and scientists don't create new formulas without having specific goals defined in advance. Having a specific plan is like harnessing the power of Niagara Falls to create a massive amount of electricity. So what goals do we have? What plans are we making in order to build the lives and homesteads of our dreams? I find myself occasionally asking this question. What goals do you have? What plans are you making to build the life and homestead of your dreams? But I don't want to ask it like that. I feel like it sounds arrogant, as though, what are you doing? As though I'm pointing the finger. As though I'm not doing the same thing. I very much am. But sharing this with you, it's a bit more inclusive to talk in this way. What are we doing with goals? How are we building the lives and homesteads of our dreams? But since this is kind of a one-sided conversation, I guess all I can really do is share with you what I'm doing. And like I said, in the past, I use the Best Self Journal. And I began setting goals and using the journal by the seasons. That didn't really work as well as I'd liked, because most of the world, I'm still going to live by the seasons, but most of the world doesn't operate seasonally. Most of the world operates quarterly, Q1, 2, 3, 4, throughout the year, and it's a little bit easier to structure things that way, I've found recently at least. And Q2 of 2021, I did not do very well with my goal setting. Towards the end of the quarter, I recognized and acknowledged this, and I sat down and I did a quarterly review where I took a look back throughout the journal. I did an assessment, a benchmark, and if I had that journal right here, I would go over that, but I don't. Moreover, I'm driving. And I guess the point that I wanted to make was that I recognized some of my failure in the setting of goals and the way in which I wanted to approach everything last quarter. And that's okay. I redirected, I sat down, I made time to do that, and I approached it with a little bit more ferocity than I had in the past. I was just a little bit lazy and lackluster, and I wanted to step it up. I've become a little bit more clear that if I want to actually make progress with the goals that I have, and I actually need to set goals, because at this point, the goals that I have, they're just ideas, they're dreams. And the way that we effectively walk the path and make a quick track to those dreams, those goals and visions that we have, is to set clearly defined goals. And this morning, when I sat to journal, I've been using a Bible app on my phone, and I took a moment to pray. It prompted me because I was looking at my phone, looking at my calendar, and there was something that stuck out to me in this story today that Dan wrote. Not so much a story, but this passage. And he writes, "Don't be a 45-year-old college-educated, quote, simple person. Finding your purpose and calling are critical and must precede any reasonable life choices. Clear goals in each area of your life keeps you focused on the positive goal." And for me, finding my purpose and my calling have become something I have been obsessed with. I have a longing for self-employment for a number of reasons, including but not limited to some of the health issues that I'm experiencing. But I don't feel that I can move forward in that direction until I have a clearer understanding of what my purpose and my calling is. Now, I've gained so much more clarity in that after getting out of debt and following Dave Ramsey's baby steps. And I feel that I get more and more clear with the more and more progress that I make on baby step 3, which is assembling 3 to 6 months of savings, or in my case, since I have a chronic neurological condition. And if you've got other issues like a family or health problems of your own, 6 to 12 months might be a more appropriate goal. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it, like my mother always told us growing up. Now, that quote, again, give me a stock clerk with a goal, and I will give you a man who will make history. Give me a man without a goal, and I will give you a stock clerk. J.C. Penney. With all of the... where I was initially going when I crossed the tracks back there was that Dan Miller and Dave Ramsey too, and a lot of people that I've grown to follow, productivity leaders, Michael Hyatt, they are Christian people. They make no bones about their faith. And I've always had some reservations due to my own explorations and my own journey with faith and religion and spirituality over the years. And I've had far more negative experiences in what I'll just call the church, which includes many different churches and many different denominations over the years, than I've had positive ones. And the thing that I was always drawn to the most in terms of the spiritual realm was Taoism. And I'm realizing there's a lot of good that comes with the reading of everything that one can find with regard to Taoism and the various translations. And there's also a lot of good that can come from the Bible and the various translations and understanding the history of it. And I always struggled with this because of my bias, my own personal bias within and towards the church. But the point of this little thought share was that I decided to also read from 365 Tao this morning, in addition to The Rudder of the Day by Dan Miller and Strength for Today, the book that was so kindly given to me by our associate pastor, Karen, that I talked about the other day and linked to in the show notes yesterday. Today, the 190th day of the year, this July 9th, we read, "When in the arena, yield not to an aggressor. When outside the arena, affirm compassion." This world and this society are competitive. Tao uses the metaphor of the warrior to meet that competition. Warriors never yield to their opponents. They may sidestep, but they do not give way. Whether you are a lawyer, police officer, firefighter, doctor, business person, athlete, or any one of numerous other professions, you compete against either other people or natural forces. But there is a right and a wrong way to compete. Avoid anger and greed. Use concentration and awareness. Coincidentally, concentration and awareness are also necessary for spirituality. That is why the follower of Tao incorporates the way of the warrior into training. The warrior and the sage both seek to transcend emotion and petty thinking, to perfect themselves, and to live lives of the deepest truth. But when outside the arena, do not forget to be kind. Leave behind competitive aggression. You must still have awareness, concentration, and reflex, but the expression will be different. Your compassion must not falter. This is why the combination of the way of the warrior with the way of the Tao is the ultimate symbol of versatility. Such a follower of Tao commands the extremes of the universe. Now, This stood out to me today because I had been a little slack in my goals, and that's all right. Maybe it was a little yin to the yang with the ferocity in which I feel like I am approaching them now, or the yang to the yin. A lot of my thought processes recently have been driven by anger and greed. By doing a number of things to increase the way in which I am mindful of the various things that I chose to focus my energy on with anger and greed. I didn't do this deliberately. This is why this stood out to me this morning. But when I began to use concentration and awareness, and when I began including a little bit more physical activity in my life, began working out again, trying to be more mindful of my diet, my sleep, my health, my goals, my writing, my structure, I feel like that was the right way to compete, if we want to call the process of going through life a competition. But if we do so fueled by anger and greed, it most certainly is the wrong way. And that is going to conclude the thoughts for today's episode of the All Around Growth Podcast. If you like what you hear, I would encourage you to share this episode with someone of like mind. And if you like what you hear, I would also encourage you to join us over on the Telegram group, t.me/allaroundgrowth. We've got a lot of cool things going on there. A lot of dialogue that people aren't necessarily comfortable sharing elsewhere, but they are in the group because of the people that are there and the reactions and responses that they are given. So come and check it out. It's good stuff. It looks like our audience is growing. It looks like our audience is changing. And we've got a lot of listeners in Europe. So one of these days, I'll go ahead and break out the statistics, give everybody a shout out from the respective countries where people are listening. I sure do appreciate it. I appreciate you spending your time with us. I appreciate you spreading the word in the ways that you have. And I appreciate you and the work that you're doing to build the life and homestead of your dreams. Together, this is the work that we're doing to find and create work that we love, that allows us to, well, build a better world, build the lives and homesteads of our dreams. All right, everyone. Thanks again. I hope that you have a great day. I hope that you have a great weekend as well. For those of you who are listening today, I hope it's a great weekend. For those of you who listen in the future, I hope that you have a great day, a great week, a great weekend as well. Whoever you are, wherever you may be, whatever the case may be. This is Rob Kaiser, and thank you.